What if the greatest villain of Wall Street didn't vanish after prison, but waited, watched, and returned with a plan? And what if the next financial collapse wasn't a surprise, but something carefully built out of personal gains? Gordon Gekko, once a powerful Wall Street figure, had spent 8 years in prison for insider trading and fraud. When he walked out, he received his belongings, a few personal items, a check, and a train ticket from a clerk. 7 years later, in 2008, Jake Moore woke up with his girlfriend, Winnie. Jake switched on the TV. Gekko was being interviewed about his new book, Is Greed Good? Winnie recognized her father's voice. She told Jake to turn off the show, but he kept watching. She turned the TV off, threw the remote, and left to shower.
Nice to
turn it off.
I outlined my drafts.
Jake worked at Keller Zabel Investments on Wall Street. When he got to work, a meeting was already in progress. The atmosphere was tense. The market was all over the place. Some people were ready to take big risks, but Jake didn't think it was a good idea.
My suggestion is that we get aggressive.
Well, I don't agree. Maybe it's just me. I just don't think it's a risk our debt should be taken right now, that's all. I'd wait.
When the meeting ended, Jake walked into the office area and saw his mentor, Louis Zabel, speaking angrily to someone. Zabel told him he was okay and invited him to his office. In the office, Zabel handed Jake a $1.5 million bonus. Jake was surprised and asked why. Zabel said it was a thank you for hard work. Something didn't add up, but Jake thanked Louis and kissed him on the head before heading out.
Why?
Well, that's some thank you. You spend it on that pretty girl. You deserve it.
That evening, Jake went to a fancy jewelry store to buy a ring for Winnie. The salesman showed him various choices, but Jake chose a special one in a private room. The next morning, the firm was in chaos. Their stock started crashing fast. Phones rang, alerts blared, and people shouted. Jake held on tight to his shares.
Zabel's loss today was the worst in over a year.
Worried, Jake tracked down Zabel in the park, where he explained that the bonus was given out of trust, but admitted he'd lost faith in the company and urged Jake to use the money for his own life. Zabel said the question wasn't who would go down, it was who wouldn't. He knew many others would fail too.
Hold down for something better. Use the money, because one day you're going to wake up and you're going to be dead.
Later, Zabel went to the Federal Reserve to ask for a bailout.
We lost billions this week. Tuesday, 15,000 people are going to be out of a job. Worldwide.
He met with the U.S. Treasury Chairman, Bretton James, who was once a colleague but was now a rival. James refused to help. Instead, James offered to buy Keller Zabel for just $2 per share, an insult to its recent value of $79. And when Zabel tried negotiating up to $6, James lowered it to $3. They finally settled at $4 per share.
I'm prepared to risk $2 a share.
The stock was trading at 79.
We'll call it an even 4.
The next morning, Zabel followed his morning routine. He had breakfast with his wife. He bought a newspaper and a snack, then headed toward the train station. As a train pulled in, he stepped through the crowd and walked in front of it. He ended his own life. Jake saw the news on TV. He was devastated. Winnie arrived home from her trip and hugged him. They stood in silence, and at that moment, Jake proposed. She said yes with tears in her eyes. Even after he admitted he was jobless and probably broke, she didn't care.
Will you marry me, Winnie?
Yes.
Weeks later, Jake attended one of Gekko's speeches. Gekko spoke to a crowd about greed and financial collapse. It reminded Jake of a leader capable of inspiring or destroying. After the speech, Jake found Gekko. He introduced himself and told him about his upcoming wedding to Winnie. Gekko said he would talk for 10 minutes.
My name is Jacob Moore. I'm gonna marry your daughter.
They rode the subway together. Gekko revealed that Winnie had refused to speak to him for years after her brother, Rudy, died from a drug overdose.
My daughter hasn't spoken to me in years. Brother's overdose.
Meeting Jake and learning about the upcoming marriage softened him slightly. He showed Jake an old photograph of Winnie and asked for a current picture in exchange. Jake struck a deal. He would get the photo if Gekko helped him expose Bretton James.
You get me another picture of Winnie, recent.
Jake started digging. he uncovered proof that James had profited from Keller-Zabel's downfall. His firm had spread false rumors of a nationalized African oil rig to tank the stock. James made millions. Jake used this info to hit back, causing damage to James's reputation and wallet. Later, at a high-profile party, instead of retaliating, James told Jake he admired his drive and offered a spot on his team, but warned that refusal would end Jake's career.
Come work for me.
Jake accepted. He didn't plan to be loyal. He entered with a plan to bring James down from the inside. Jake returned to Gekko with the photo. Gekko disclosed that a private fund, Locus Fund, had bet heavily against Keller-Zabel. He revealed James helped put him in prison back in the 80s. Now, all Gekko wanted was to see his daughter, so he struck another deal with Jake. Arrange a meeting with Winnie, and he would help Jake take down James. Jake arranged a dinner where Gekko and Winnie could talk. Gekko saw a powerful businessman and introduced himself, hoping to reconnect. Winnie, hurt and protective, watched closely. Gekko slipped back into his old habits. She lost patience and stormed out. Jake followed her, but Winnie warned him any contact with Gekko would ruin them both. At work, James put Jake in a key role in a presentation to Chinese investors. Jake's sharp thinking helped them win $150 million for a fusion energy project he'd been promoting. At a fundraiser, Gekko reconnected with Bud Fox, his old protege turned airline magnate. Fox warned Gekko to stay out of trouble. Finding Winnie outside the event, he told her she was everything to him. His words moved her.
I'm your dad. My baby.
Dark clouds loomed over the U.S. economy. By September to October 2008, the crash hit hard. Billions disappeared from the stock market in days. Jake delivered the news to Winnie. Everything they had worked for was collapsing. But Winnie dropped shocking news. She was pregnant. Despite the crisis, they found hope in their unborn child.
Because I'm pregnant, Jake.
The next day, Jake and James went riding. James confessed he had sabotaged the fusion project, not because it couldn't work, but because it couldn't be controlled by oil interests. Jake reached his limit. He quit James's firm, unwilling to play that game. Desperate to keep their future, Jake turned once more to Gekko. Gekko had a plan. Winnie had a $100 million trust in Switzerland.
100 million by now.
He had set it up at her birth and tried to access it after Rudy's death, but she refused. They could use the trust fund money to fund the fusion project Jake had committed to. Jake contacted Winnie, who finally agreed. She signed the forms. A lawyer and banker transferred the money as instructed. The money never showed up.
My CFO says the money hasn't arrived yet.
Jake panicked. He went to Gekko's apartment, but it was empty. Gekko had disappeared. Jake remembered Gekko's patterns and realized he had stolen it all. Heartbroken, Jake confessed everything to Winnie. He told her about his secret meetings and how Gekko had betrayed them. She called off the engagement. Jake left. He decided to find Gekko and confront him. Jake followed Gekko to London. He found him leading a powerful finance firm the way he once did. Jake offered Gekko one final deal, return the stolen money, and in return, Gekko would have a place in their son's life. He showed Gekko the ultrasound of their baby. Gekko looked moved, but he refused. He said it wasn't about money anymore. It was about the game.
God, kid, it's not about the money. The game between people.
Over the next few weeks, Jake used Gekko's evidence to expose James's role in the financial collapse. Winnie, now a journalist, published a major story. James was ruined. Congress launched investigations into his corruption and bailout schemes. James lost everything, including his reputation, and faced legal trouble for tax evasion. At the same time, Gekko thrived. His new London financial firm attracted investors who once ignored him. He had won by playing the same game. One evening, Jake found Winnie struggling with bags at the curb. Their baby was kicking. Jake helped her inside. Suddenly, Gekko appeared. This time, he carried an envelope. It was an anonymous check for $100 million, the very trust he had stolen, sent straight to the Fusion Project Fund. He left without a word. A few years later, at their son's first birthday, Jake and Winnie hosted a party in their garden. Surrounded by friends and family, they watched their baby take his first steps. In the distance, Gekko stood alone. He had become a grandfather and a billionaire once more, with his empire restored.